Kang asks her if she has something to say, and reminds her that she just told him she doesn't want to see his face ever again. Ha-rai stares with an anxious expression on her face, using the cold CEO's shoulder to hide from Min-woo. While she is leaving after funnily stating again that she doesn't want to marry him, he stops her dead in her tracks by saying that he will still marry her, and further asks why she doesn't like him. Ha-rai explains, saying she dislikes absolutely everything about him, from his cheesy lines to his face which looks like an Archaeopteryx. Secretary Cha snickers from the front seat as Ha-rai leaves. Back in his office, he shows Kang a picture of an Archaeopteryx and states that his overall vibe does match the strange-looking bird. Ha-rai sits with Young Seo at a roadside restaurant and tells her of what happened. Young Seo snickers and laughs at the humorous evening spent by Ha-rai, who seems anything but amused. Ha-rai wants to leave, but Young Seo wants to have another drink with her friend, saying that this might be her last drink before her father finds out she made a mess out of her blind date and puts her to eternal sleep. Then she shows Ha-rai the place where she met the guy she has apparently fallen for, and asks if they can wait one more hour in hopes that he will pass by. Unfortunately, they don't see him pass by. The next day, both girls are passed out on the floor in Ha-rai's room. They get woken up by Ha-rai's mom, who steps on an empty can of beer to make a loud noise. The friends, who are confused as to why they're sleeping on the ground, remember the events of last night, where Ha-rai barged into her worried family with some police officers carrying a drunk Young Seo, who makes a huge fuss about the man she has fallen for. Ha-rai slaps her friend's head with force and the two girls apologize to the police, after which Young Seo starts ranting about the man she fell for on the streets again, and Ha-rai, amidst her drunken stupor, threatens her friend, saying she is going to rip her mouth open. Ha-rai starts hallucinating about her friend's mouth actually being torn, and the girls sink to the floor, crying, while everyone else stares at them, dumbfounded. After remembering all this, the two girls get on their knees and try to win Mrs. Shin over with flattery. At Kang's house, he has breakfast in a timely manner as his grandfather plans the venue for his wedding already. The old man, obviously greedy with the thought of having grandchildren, wants to rush his grandson. Kang Tae-moo gets a text from Jin Young Seo, asking to meet him. He assumes it is because she likes him and cannot rebel against her father, but it is really because she wants to clear up the misunderstanding involving Ha-rai. Inside Ha-rai's office, her co-workers talk about President Kang. One of them claims that there are lots of similarities between him and the young CEO, even though there aren't. Ms. Yo quiets him down and they begin their everyday quarrel, something Ha-rai and her other co-worker are used to by now. The girl Ha-rai is with, Ms. Kim, gets a call from, guess who, Min-woo, Ha-rai's friend and crush. The girl asks Ms. Yo if she can head out, and when asked why, she says for her fling. Ha-rai follows them to see if they're really a couple, and sees them touching hands and exchanging gifts. The summer moment gets cut off as the couple gets up to leave. Ha-rai amusingly hides. While she is dejectedly walking back, she runs into President Kang again. This time, she runs the other way, but bumps into two men, making her legs rise up before she falls. Her slipper animatedly flies through the air and hits Tae-moo flat on his forehead. At first, he is numb, but when he comes to, he asks who hit him while holding his nose to stop the nosebleed he got. He runs after the woman in the white lab coat, chasing her all over the building. It is really hilarious to see such a well-kept man running like this after being hit by a slipper. She tries escaping through the elevator, but he manages to stop her. Getting inside with her, he asks why she hit him. She tells him it was a mistake and apologizes, all while hiding her face. He notices her sweating profusely and having on only one slipper, and lets it go, asking her about the campaign she put out as a researcher. She gets off the elevator after saying goodbye and runs off. Tae-moo seems amused at the weird girl, but he doesn't seem to recognize her. In their research kitchen, Ms. Kim, the one who was with Min-woo, keeps banging her head against one of the machines. When asked what happened, she tells her co-workers that the man she was with rejected her. When Ha-rai leaves the room, Ms. Yo scolds Ms. Kim for not reading the room, saying that Chef Min-woo already has someone he is interested in. During the late evening that day, Young Seo arrives at the place she was to meet Kang Tae-moo, and while parking, accidentally hits her car with the one coming from behind. She gets out, exasperated, but is suddenly delighted to see the man from the convenience store that she fell for at first sight. She hands him her card, and on it, her name is written. Seems like the cover is finally blown. Young Seo explains everything to Tae-moo, but he asks her to bring in the woman he almost married. Secretary Cha walks to his apartment complex and thinks about Young Seo and the scene at the convenience store. He doesn't believe she is Jin Young Seo. Tae-moo is there at his house too, mopping the floors. He cooks them a delicious-looking dinner and they eat together. Turns out that cooking and cleaning are Kang's way of distressing. Cha Sung-hoon tries to persuade Tae-moo to cancel the wedding, and learns about the anger he harbors towards the fake Young Seo, loudly stating that he will have his revenge on her. Ha-rai sleeps cutely in a fetal position and gently gets woken by Young Seo, who takes her out to have fun. They go to a clothing store where Young Seo asks Ha-rai to pick out anything she likes, making her change into a bunch of outfits. She gets her friend ready from top to bottom without telling her where she is taking her. Young Seo finally confesses to Ha-rai about what is going on and leaves quickly, telling her friend that President Kang will be there shortly and she should have her wig on. She is about to run to the bathroom but sees him approaching. She resorts to flipping the wig over her head in the middle of the restaurant and accidentally spills the contents of her purse. She picks them up quickly and, much to her surprise, gets helped by Timu. Seeing him, she falls to the floor, gawking at his presence in surprise. The two of them sit, Ha-rai sheepishly looking at her CEO while he bombards her with questions. She tells him she did not want to do such a thing, and then he asks how much she was paid for it. She tells him she was given 800,000 won. According to Korea's depreciated currency, that really is not too much money. He wears a bewildered expression on his face. It is almost unbelievable how he got scammed for a mere 800,000. Ha-rai asks him if going as a replacement for someone is really a scam, and he, in a loud voice, tells her why it is exactly so. She apologizes again, saying she needed the money urgently and her monthly income could not cover her cost. Hearing this, he tauntingly lets out a laugh, saying he thought she was just an old-time scammer. Ha-rai laughs nervously and lies about working at a small medium-sized company, thinking to herself how she actually works in his company. She remembers her friend telling her that Kang really was just looking for an apology. So she tells him that she cannot make it up to him with gifts or money as he already has much more than her, but she promises to help him out with any favor, if he ever needs it. She asks if he's still mad, and he crosses his arms, sighing deeply, and stares at her with hawk-like eyes, asking her how exactly he looks like Archaeopteryx. The young CEO must have taken that insult to heart, judging by the way he gets offended whenever it is mentioned by Secretary Cha. Ha-rai is dumbfounded at his question. She asks if this is the reason he is mad. He overclarifies that he is not mad, just caught off guard by the comparison of him and a bird. Ha-rai humorously tells him she only said what came to her mind, but since the girl's nature is funny, she goes on to say that there is an uncanny similarity, judging by Kang's sharp eyes and lanky limbs. Ha-rai asks if she can leave, and with a down-to-earth expression tells him that her family restaurant needs part-timers, so she helps out there. Surprisingly, Kang Timu calls her phone. She has saved his number as don't answer. He authoritatively tells her to save his number again and pick it up whenever he calls. He threatens that if she ever were to hide or try to run away, he will find her. He then shows her the chicken restaurant card in his hands. He asks for her name, and before she mindlessly blubbers the whole thing out, she changes it at the last second, introducing herself as Shin Jiam-hui. He saves her number on his cell phone. At Kang's house, his grandfather watches TV while munching on chips. He watches a drama in which some people are at a pork cutlet restaurant with their in-laws. He feels envious of the fact that he does not have in-laws. At that moment, Kang arrives home. When his grandfather asks about his date with young Seo, he tells him that he has decided not to marry the woman, so his grandfather should not bring up her name anymore. The old man sits back with a grunt, continuing his TV drama. In it, the man refuses to marry someone else and claims that he loves someone named Shin Jiam-hui, who also coincidentally works at a chicken place. Ha-rai, who is walking home, wonders why she thought of that name. The name from the drama must have been in her subconscious mind. Ha-rai walks home, calling her best friend whose phone is turned off, and as she rounds the corner, she sees her. She runs towards young Seo, threatening to hit her. Later on, they sit in Ha-rai's room where young Seo apologizes again and again. Ha-rai tells her friend that the CEO now knows about her family restaurant. When young Seo yells at her for being so stupid, Ha-rai exclaims that she is the one who got her in this mess and grabs her friend by the collar. Mrs. Shin barges in and scolds her daughter for holding her friend's collar like that. She hits Ha-rai's shoulder and berates her for her uncontrollable temper. Ha-rai tells her mom to raise young Seo if she likes her that much, and throws young Seo to her mom, who latches onto the older woman. Mrs. Shin walks out of the room, grumbling about her daughter's red-hot temper, and saying that she would be so lucky if she had a daughter like young Seo. Ha-min asks his mom if he should seduce young Seo and marry her, so that his mother can at least have a good daughter-in-law. Mrs. Shin hits him to shut him up, saying it won't work out even if he tries. The next morning, Kang Timu watches TV, where the Discovery Channel gives information on the Archaeopteryx. He flares his nostrils in annoyance and calls Ha-rai. She wakes up from a deep sleep by the vibrations and picks up the phone. At first, she thinks it's a prank call early in the morning, but soon recognizes that it is actually the angry CEO. He says he has called to make sure she did not change her number in order to avoid him. He then hangs up. When morning comes, Ha-rai enters her office, yawning. She tells Mizyo that she couldn't sleep that well after being woken up in the middle of the night. Mr. Jai, the only man on the team of researchers, barges in and tells his colleagues of some big news he has. Apparently, President Kang went on a blind date. Mr. Jai assesses that if he marries a rich family, the stock prices will go up. Ms. Yo, his longtime arch-enemy, taunts him for being overly excited even though he has a minuscule amount in stocks. He tells her he has a total of 50 shares confidently, but she twists his hand and asks him to stop talking about Kang Ti-moo. Inside his office, President Kang looks at a few business deals, and when his secretary walks in, tells him that they will have lunch with Mr. H. Wang, the replacement for the greedy Mr. Park whom he fired. But Secretary Cha informs him that his grandfather has asked to resume the blind dates again, so he won't have time to have lunch with Mr. H. Wang. Agitated, Kang Ti-moo is forced to attend blind dates with well-educated ladies from elite families, but all of them are bland, boring, and not his type at all. All of them fangirl openly about his looks, and how he is their type and their heart is fluttering, which annoys Ti-moo a great deal. Exhausted from going on 10 blind dates in a single day, Ti-moo's face has withered. He tells Secretary Cha that he has pressed the wrong button on the elevator, but he corrects him, saying he has one more blind date to go to. A girl named Yoko Hitori, whose Korean name is Oh Yoon-jae. She is a third-generation immigrant and second in line for Hitori Foods. They fly in a helicopter to meet this girl, but of course it does not work out. Kang finds all the girls he is meeting very shallow. Secretary Cha states that all the girls he met are way better than the fake young CEO who Kang had agreed to marry at first glance, to which Kang replies bitterly, "At least she wasn't a boring girl, unlike all these females." Kang Ti-moo's nose starts bleeding from being overworked to this extent. Ti-moo's grandfather blames him for calling it off with Jun Young Seo, and gives him a list of more candidates he has come up with. Ti-moo grows increasingly anxious after seeing the list, and blurts out that he has a woman he wants to marry. He lies to his grandfather about fighting with her before, and that's the reason he went to all those blind dates. The grandfather leaves happily after receiving the news. Secretary Cha asks why he had to lie like that and how he's going to cover it up. Kang plans to have Ha-rai take responsibility for her actions and calls her. The girl's phone rings. It seems she has now named him Archaeopteryx on her phone. Shin Ha-rai picks up. Kang Ti-moo asks to see her later that evening and asks where she works. Ha-rai lies to him and says she works in another city, Ilsan. They agree to meet at Rainbow Cafe, which Ha-rai states is a place she is a regular at. When they reach there, turns out Rainbow Cafe is a place for moms and their children, with lots of play areas for kids. Kang cuts to the chase, telling Ha-rai that he wants them to fake dating with the intention of marriage. Ha-rai does not agree at first, saying she does not want to lie to people anymore. But this time, Kang bribes her with money, telling her he'll give her a double of 800,000 won every time she meets his grandfather. Ha-rai remembers that all her life, she disappointed her family with all types of loans, student, credit cards, collateral, negative accounts. And all these years, she took on odd jobs to lessen the burden of loans. He drives her home, and once parked, asks what her decision is. She refuses yet again. But Kang pressures her by asking if her words were empty when she said she would help him out with anything. She goes home and lays her head down on the table at her family restaurant, tired. She watches TV and finally remembers that the name Shin Ji-Hui is from the drama that is airing. Ha-rai gets a call from Min-woo, who asks why she hasn't dropped by his restaurant in so many days, to which Ha-rai says that her work has kept her busy. She promises Min-woo that she will drop by soon and hangs up. Ti-moo arrives home and his grandfather once again questions him when he will meet his grandson's girlfriend. Ti-moo assures him that they will meet. Ha-rai's phone rings again. It's Ti-moo. He asks to meet with her right now. He is standing below her house. Reluctantly, Ha-rai wears a ton of makeup and a wig and sits in Kang's car, claiming that she never lets anyone see her without it. He hands her a contract, telling her to memorize all the information about him before meeting his grandfather. Ha-rai exclaims that she never agreed to the deal, but Kang persists, saying he has no choice but her. She gets out of his car and tries to run, but he follows and stops her. When asked why she can't do this for him, she can't tell him that she is an employee at his company. Ha-rai sees her brother approaching and quickly grabs Ti-moo by his arms, surprising him. She tells him they'll talk tomorrow and pushes him slightly, but he trips and falls onto the grass outside her restaurant. She tries grabbing him, but in doing so, she falls on top of him, accidentally pressing her lips to his.